where we're comfortable. Is this okay, honey?
Yeah, I don't see your crotch anymore, so that's good.
Aaron just said, I'm wearing shorts because it's 1,000 degrees in our house. And I asked Aaron if the shot was okay. And he's like, yeah, I can't see your crotch anymore. So that's good.
Come over here, honey.
Giving you guys the behind the scenes.
I have crotchless pajamas on, so I totally.
I designed mine.
Hand down, Sarah.
I'm distracted.
Hi. Okay, I'm just I'm just making sure. Welcome to One Fresh Podcast. We have our first guests ever, and I'm so excited because not only are they very beautiful, but they are our friends. We have Steve and Sarah Bolinder, and they are the owners of Chop Barbershop. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for agreeing to be our crash test dummies on this first one. And Steve, thank you for getting your beard looking so nice this morning.
I worked on it for 30 minutes before we started.
I bet you did. The grays are coming in well. So Steve and Sarah, I have known Steve since 2003. And I know, and met Sarah pretty shortly after that. But Aaron, Steve, you've known Aaron since the late 1800s, probably.
Right. Horse and carriage together to school.
Yeah.
There was three of us in the class, Mike, Aaron, and myself.
So you guys have known each other since
grade.
Sixth grade,
I think, somewhere in there.
So like I said, late 1800s.
84.
Guys, 84, incredible. You guys go way back. And then Sarah and I just got roped into this nonsense. So, but so when I met you, Steve, you were what's the preferred nomenclature? I would say you're a hairstylist.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So the whole time I've known you, you were a hairstylist and had been for years. And you were in the same shop for years and years. How long?
21 years in the turning point.
That's incredible. So were you just 10 when you started there?
I was 12.
So you did that for a really long time. So the fact that you did that for 21 years makes what we're really going to talk about even more incredible, is that after 21 years doing the same thing, and you decided to branch out and open your own place. So talk to us about that.
It wasn't like I woke, I had drawn it up and all that for years, but it was Sarah that forced me.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he didn't decide. He got pushed.
I know, she was like, Sarah wants to say something. Okay, so you pushed him. But I mean, that's great though. I love that you guys are a husband and wife. And I never would have had us start a pillow business. I'm too risk averse. It just seemed terrifying. So Aaron's the one that really pushed us to do this. So, but talk to me about what made you decide to finally do it? What was different about having your own place versus working with another partner?
Or I think for me, it was, I was, just happy and making good money, but I just wasn't fulfilled. And at night, when I would kind of brainstorm on that and be creative or talk about it, Sarah's more of a problem solver. Mm-hmm. So she was just like, you've got to do this. It was almost like you'll regret it if you never do it. And she would say things like that, like, what if something opens up that's just like it? And it started to kind of get me. And then one day she was like, well, I'm meeting the realtor. And I was like, well, I've got that day off. I know, that's why I'm meeting the realtor on that day. And I was like, anywhere but the Duval Plaza. It was just random. And she was like, okay, well, we're meeting at the Duval Plaza, so I'll see you there.
Yeah.
So she'll just kind of push. And it's funny because a lot of people think of that as frustrating, or they don't like it until they realize that they needed somebody like that.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I would tell people, get you a Sarah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I mean, that's great. And you you are playing off of each other, and you've become, I would say, you think that you're both better off by having each other, you know, that Sarah, you've been able to help him realize his dream. And then you were still practicing law, but after, only a couple of years, you left law and started working at Chop. So how did that happen?
I came home and told Steve I quit my job. And, and then I was like, so this really has to work. I think I didn't realize I was in a life where I wasn't living my dream until I saw everything and got involved and was doing everything behind the scenes, helping Steve open. And I realized how much this was more me than what I was doing, being in an office and the law is a highly perfect field, and you're expected to be slow and methodical. And I didn't realize how unhappy that was. It just didn't fit me at all. I'm not a slow, methodical person. I'm not an attention to detail-oriented person. I'm an
You just
AV.
quit your job one day. So yeah.
So I never looked back. That's been 5 years, but it's so crazy. We still talk about it today, how we created a business that created jobs for the both of us that has worked for at least 5 years, right? Yeah, fingers crossed.
And that's amazing that, they say about new businesses that most new businesses fail within the first 5 years. And so you guys have done the opposite of that. You have gone from one Chop Barbershop in Duval Plaza. And I remember going in and seeing, Aaron's going to edit in photos and things. And I
was going to say the bird I'm so sorry about the bird.
Oh, no. I don't even notice. But Aaron, I'm going to have him edit in a photo because I want people to see your unique style of interior that you have. It's really kitschy and kind of nostalgic. How would you guys describe the style, and what's different about Chop from other places that you may go to get your hair done?
Well, I think the barbershop concept is more of the kind of like your local bar or local pub, but also it can be more walk-in friendly, especially in the beginning. You want that foot traffic, you want people to come in. And I think just even putting that, which we went round and round, and I was thankful that Sarah even pushed me on that one, was, just putting a barbershop on it, because I'm a barber, but I was doing women's hair, but that's a whole nother story. But we wanted the best of both worlds. So we wanted to be able to bring in ladies and men, but still have it kind of laid back and relaxed and comfortable, and not too high polished. I mean, and not too commercialized.
Yeah,
that's way.
And it's really fun. It's really welcoming. Like when you walk in, I always feel like you're seeing friends. I've gone in with Aaron when he's gotten a haircut, and it doesn't matter which shop we go to find you and for him to get his hair done. You guys are always having fun. There's always someone that, even though they don't know me or Aaron necessarily, they're always really friendly. And I think that you guys do have something that's really unique and interesting. It's kind of like Cheers, to date ourselves.
Exactly. That's the decor, I would say. It's like a Boston Irish pub meets the South.
Yeah. And I love it in there. Like it's really, and you guys have worked really hard to source the things. I know I'm going on a design tangent, but like you guys have traveled long distances to source some of the items that you've put in your different shops, right?
Yeah.
That's been a challenge.
So
and
it's
fun.
Like, yeah. But this is like all consuming for you guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that if you're looking at Steve and Sarah from the outside and don't necessarily know you guys personally, you can see like, wow, Steve and Sarah started this barbershop, and in 5 years they've gone from one to how many?
We are at
8, but we have
8.
signed a 9th.
See, so like from the outside it looks like, oh, you guys are just like crushing it and rolling in money and it must be so glamorous, but that's not true. Like before we started recording, Sarah's stressing out over getting a Facebook post just right. And like, that's the real world of being entrepreneurs when you're still making the day-to-day decisions, right? I mean,
Yeah, you have to put yourself away for a while and know that this is where your energy is going to be for 5 to 10 years, and then it'll pay off eventually. And you have to be a weird kind of optimist to do this, because you have to believe it's all going to work, and that all that work you're putting in, the 60, 70-hour weeks, is going to pay off. And so there's never a time I doubt that. It's kind of weird. I think there's other people who maybe do doubt themselves on that level. I know we're going to make it. It's just, you kind of just have to put
you have to believe in it.
Season in your life that you have to just give it all you got.
Well, like going back to her starting with us, she didn't take pay for 2 years.
wow.
So that was a huge adjustment personally. But, everybody thinks, oh, you're growing, you got wheelbarrows of cash. But, our family went through stuff, but we did it because we believed in it. And I remember telling her when, you go through that freaking out, like, okay, I know I made the right thing, but oh my gosh. And I remember telling Sarah, I was like, you're worth more to this company than, even if we can't afford a paycheck, you're going to grow it and we need you. So, obviously she already took that leap of faith, but I was talking to myself in the mirror.
No, but it's true. And that's so sweet. That's got to feel good to you to hear your husband and business partner say, like, even though you're not getting a paycheck, you're extremely valued. And I do think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that Sarah, you were probably the driving force behind deciding to go the franchise route. Was that your idea?
It was a weird story of how we decided. We had played with the idea of corporate franchise. We still are playing. We have some corporate, some franchise. So we're going to do a hybrid model for a while and see, where it ends up. But it was a hurricane actually that led to franchising, which is a fun. But yeah, Hurricane Michael came through and ripped the roof off of our railroad store. And we could not get the landlord to fix that unit. So we had to get the stuff out, all of the decor that we had put in, 4 months before then.
Yeah, it was like May, and then it was October 10th, I think.
And that's where you can't, I went in the closet and cried. That's my MO. I do about 15 to 20 minutes of full on sobbing in the closet. And then I come out and I'm like, okay, all right, we're going to make this work. Right. So we took all the stuff and put it in storage. And at the same time, I was approached by a friend of a friend here in town who was looking for something different. And we had all the stuff. And it was like, okay, I think let's give it, rather than opening a third corporate store, because that was our third store, let's go the franchise route and see what happens. And that was in 2018 when Michael hit in October, and we opened the first franchise in February of 2019. She's been open now for over a year. And Julie, she's amazing, our franchisee. Woo-woo. So
we know Julie. She's great.
Shout out to Julie, yeah.
Julie.
She's doing great too. The store's doing great. And then we opened from there. We went to real franchising, went to expos. Steve at an expo is a lot of fun, trying to sell the franchises. And we did sell.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Steve's the song and dance guy. Steve's the
yeah. Dance monkey.
And then anybody asks a question, he's like,
let's hold that to the end. If they go deep, because with that too, like coming from a law background, like the FDD is a small novel, and
the franchise disclosure.
And so we would go over it on the car ride down. And then she's like, but don't say this. And I'm like, what? Or I'll go to prison? And she was like, you might. So I'm like, oh! And so then, but we're very grassroots, and we're very much like, I think that's what attracted us to each other, is we're both doers. Like, if we want something done, we're just going to do it. We're just going to jump in and do it. And then we'll learn along the way, and we'll make huge mistakes and spend lots of money. And hopefully I don't end up in prison, but we're going to push through. And then, we try to help other people, along the way. They're like, hey, I saw what you did. How'd you do it? I'm like, don't do this.
Don't do this one. Yeah. That's a really good segue. I'm trying to have some sort of format here in this podcast world.
You're doing great.
Thanks. But it's so fun and easy to talk to you guys. So I've got to get it together. So one of the things that I want to ask every guest is going to be a topic I'm going to call shit happens. And I want you guys, you just mentioned failure. Could you tell us about a time, it doesn't have to be work related, but it sounds like you could pull from some work examples. Tell us about a time that you failed and how you were able to overcome that failure.
How are you?
Yeah, that would be a
So
good one.
we, when we initially started looking for corporate store options, we went to an area and we saw this location and thought, this is a great location. It's next to good demographics. We did all the typical research, and then we opened, and then COVID hit, but it never took off, that location. And it was, I won't say the neighbor because I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but it was a mistake. It was a mistake, and I did not want to admit. We were on our, so we had started the franchise route. This was a corporate route. And for me, I was testing the two markets, and I feel like the corporate store, if it was a failure, it was my failure. And I could not accept it. I just wanted to hold on and keep going and pushing and make it work. Do whatever it took, spend whatever it took to get the marketing. And Steve and my sister, my family kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, you gotta let this one go. And it was rough.
Yeah.
I felt like cut the foot to save the leg.
Right.
But the good part with that, and I think that's what pulled her a little bit out of that darkness, because I didn't want to do it either. I mean, it's part of your, and it's not even necessarily an ego, but you feel like you failed on a bigger stage, on a bigger platform. And that was our first out of town, no brand recognition kind of thing. But the biggest thing is we didn't have to lose any people. And so it was a big, like, okay, we were opening another one. Everybody was excited about going to that one. And this one was just kind of like the redheaded stepchild.
And we were able to make the relationships we made in that year wasn't a little. That staff is still with us, and they're in a different store, and they're outperforming all the franchises.
But so you didn't have to lose anyone though. So that's amazing.
No,
we just lost the space, and what we learned was parking is crucial to a barbershop. Who knew? Have parking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Yes.
Yeah. Check. Maybe try to find out what's going in across the street from you. That's a local
idea. Don't go shop. In across from a local barbershop. It's well known.
Well, they opened a month after we signed our lease.
We did.
And you didn't know?
But I think all of those mistakes led to much better decisions now. And we're to see it through the success. The franchises are doing ridiculously well. And the Riverside store in Jacksonville is the one that we moved the staff to, and it's killing it. So I know that it was just it was a glitch, but it's right. Learn from. You can't sit in the closet crying and never come out. Yeah.
Pick yourself up, figure it out, move on. I love that.
It's like riding a bike. You got to get back on it and, push through your boo-boos.
Yeah. Yeah. And people will appreciate you. And that's why I want to ask everyone that question, is because it hurts so badly to fail. And like, I hate it. But then it's so important to like understand that that's just part of life, especially when you're an entrepreneur, like you're going to fail. And so like how you learn from it. And I think it helps other people to hear, okay, these two beautiful people who seem to have like everything going on, we only talk about our successes online. We talk about like things are great here at Chop Barbershop, but you don't say like, I'm typing this from the closet as I'm sobbing and we just closed a store we loved, So that's why I want to ask that question, not to put you on the spot as like, tell me all your dark secrets, but like to help other people so they maybe won't go through it.
More of that reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
See that Instagram page, the closet shots.
One of those long
the boards going up.
Everybody's closet shot. What happened today?
Everybody's head down.
My manager.
So you mentioned COVID, and we talked earlier about the vibe of your locations, whether they're corporate or a franchise. You guys have that very cheers, like, welcome to Chop, friendly, jovial vibe. And I know that COVID has probably changed a lot of how you guys operate from that regard. So talk to me about how you have been able to make changes because of COVID, how it's, has it impacted business, just kind of how you guys are doing.
I will say, like, when it hit, probably like everybody, I was super proud of, like, Sarah is like a machine, basically. Like, she didn't, you know, sleep much, which
Right.
of course, that's huge. If you don't get it, you're not thinking straight. But she is just like over focused to make sure everything was as much information she could get, and of what we're going to do and how we're going to reopen. And I was super proud of her for doing that. And her sister was a huge help with, finances and stuff like that, trying to get them all in
The PPP and the
Yeah.
to get to the staff.
It was the primary focus for Steve and I was from the get-go was how do we make payroll? How do we make payroll? How do we get them money? We were really worried about what was going to happen to them, our staff. So
They're like your kids.
they
Yeah.
really are. And there was periods where we invited people to come, into the apartment downstairs, and we sent out some cash. We basically didn't pay ourselves while we were waiting. But it's just, you have to, in those moments of COVID, and for anybody who's doing it moving forward, that you cannot wait. You can't be patient. You can't figure this stuff out and then file. You have to move fast. We were able to get the first county loan, emergency bridge loan, because I showed up at the office the morning they started taking the applications 15 minutes early.
Well, she was up already, so.
And the lady came out and she's like,
Oh
"You
my
weren't
God.
supposed to come here. You're supposed to email it. We don't." She had her, like, I had my gloves and mask, and she had her gloves and mask. I'm like, well, it says on the governor put on the website, and I need to come down here. So here I am.
You're like a hamster bubble.
Yeah.
And it was a while of getting the emergency funding in the right moment where, you were on the verge of like just throwing in a towel and giving up on everything and just dealing with what was the fallout. But it would always hit right when we needed it. And it was great to be able to finally get the PPP and be able to pay everybody, and just the tears and
Yeah.
really brought us together as a company. It goes beyond us. Like Steve and I believe that time really bonded our staff with each other, because we were online trying to get them anything and everything we could to help them get aid individually. And it helped Steve and I bond because we were here at the house 24/7 with the kids. It helped our family bond.
Yeah.
You guys have your daughter. I mean, it was a time, like, I'll always look back on it as stressful, but it had so many positives.
Luckily, I could pay my 13-year-old to teach our 7-year-old, so that worked out well.
And Steve learned how to be a teacher.
Like I said, I paid Reed to teach Bryn.
Paid
now
Reed to teach Bryn.
Great, but it's no big deal. I'm
Right.
just kidding.
Yeah.
And Mira's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Mira,
Yeah.
we had to kick Mira out.
Yeah.
She kept coming and going to different things, and we were like, girl, you can't come to the house.
Take your Corona and go.
But it has been a little weird opening up, because everything, you're taking that extra time, and I feel like I'm running now, and I'm like having trouble breathing, because when I first got back into it, I was so excited to be around people that I would like, oh my gosh, and so and then I couldn't breathe, and then I'm like, oh, and I gotta make sure I'm we do our sanitation normally in the barbershop, but now you're just like upping it. And you're trying to make sure, it's almost like you're spraying out there to make sure people are aware, like, it's like putting the cash in the tip jar.
It's like a theater of sanitation.
Yeah, it's almost like if they don't see it, you're like taking the dollar out to put it back, but then you don't want to look at it. So
You're like, we are being the safest. Yeah.
But the PPP funds came in really handy. We were able to hire 6 assistants that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to. And their whole focus was customer service and cleaning. So
That's amazing.
yeah, and that's how we got through that period before phase 3 hit. And it's hard to the masks make it very difficult to like have that communal chatting and talking, but the staff pushes through, and they're doing
we're so
well.
proud of them.
Yeah.
They will, like fogged up glasses, more sweat, little tiny fans.
Oh my God, the mask sweat is so
And
intense.
the hair that gets like, I'll take, it's like a filter on the front, with all the hair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I breathing that in? but it's crazy. But I know we'll all look back on it, you know, from entrepreneurs to workers to students, and we'll all have this weird, you know, memory.
And the one thing that I will say too about it for entrepreneurs in general is the opportunities that are coming now are unreal. Like for the first time, commercial landlords are willing to negotiate much better than they ever were before. It was always a struggle. And now you're able to get, and not to mention, I know it's sad, but when your competitors go out of business, it does offer opportunities. For you to go in, for us, like specifically for us to go into an existing store is a lot cheaper than to have to, you know,
Right. Start from scratch.
It's about being ready. It's, you know, you feel bad if anybody fails, but you think, well, maybe we can go in and save us some money, but actually maybe get some of those employees.
Exactly.
Staff. Yeah.
And,
exactly. I love it. Erin's giving me the wrap it up. So I've got a final question for you guys because I could talk to you all day. My last question is, how do you sleep at night? I want to know side of the bed, number of pillows, how long are you sleeping? Like, give me the dish on how you two sleep at night.
So I sleep with a 2-pillow. Borderline fetal.
Yeah.
Back to wife.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With 2 small huggy pillows. I shove one in my back and one in my front, and it helps I have back pain.
Yeah.
So, and then occasionally a golden doodle.
I was like, what is? I haven't heard of this sleep device.
Yeah. Sarah. But I'll sleep. I'll sleep a solid-ish 6 hours. Because I'll wake up around 4 for some reason, you know, potty or something.
I'm taking our Tempur-Pedic and I'm pushing it up. I mean, whatever it is, I'm pushing it up so he'll stop snoring. So he usually wakes up.
Now the truth comes out. What about you? How many pillows are you sleeping with, Sarah?
I sleep with one back up against the bed and then one down. So technically one, but the other one is like an extra headboard cushion.
I gotcha.
And
but just in case.
It's who knows a night, like if I'm going to sleep through the night kind of person. Some nights I sleep fine and other nights I'm up at 4 but that's when I get some of my best ideas too. He jokes, I wake up and I'm like immediately wanting to talk about business.
It's like I've got an idea. Oh, that's as I'm handing her coffee.
When I was up at 4.
I've worked out a whole new plan.
Sometimes I do wake up to a glowing light next to me, whether it's a laptop or a phone.
There was a time when he was like, who are you on the phone with? Like, I think he thought I was cheating on him. I was talking to Charles. I was like, it's Charles. And he's like, Charles? And I'm like, it's Charles Chen from China. Okay. I'm trying to get our pomades finalized. Because China was completely different times than us.
I love it.
Charles and I are friends. I'm his best friend. He tells me all the time. Sarah, you're my best friend.
That's so cute. Well, you guys are the sweetest. I can see how he would want to be best friends with you. I appreciate you guys so much for being on here. So just real quick, tell people what they can do to support Chop and where they can find you online.
ChopBarbershop.com. Feel free to click on that franchise link if you want a franchise. We're now franchising and we're one of the least expensive and you'll get the most from it. I would say that comfortably that we give more than any other barbershop franchisor at this period. And if you're just wanting to get a haircut, please book now, the book now link.
Or follow us on Instagram, chop_barber_shop, or any Facebook. We have all the shops under there.
And I'm going to get you guys like rocking on Twitter soon.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to get on Twitter.
I'll take you under my Twitter wing. We can do this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
thank you guys.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
All righty.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. That's it for our first episode of One Fresh Podcast. Thanks again to Steve and Sarah Bolinder of Chop Barbershop for being great friends and wonderful inaugural guests on our pod. Thanks to my ever handsome husband for being a militant producer in the background. Hope you guys will join us for our episode next week. In the meantime, sleep right, sleep tight.